Good morning.
Good morning.
It is so good to see all of you out, even though there's a nor'easter coming. I didn't think you'd be here. Welcome to the Unitarian Church of Barnstable, Unitarian Universalists, where love guides us. I am the Reverend Dr. Kristen Harper, and my pronouns are she and her. And here, we acknowledge that our church and lands rest upon the unceded ancestral territory of the Wampanoag people, who have lived and been sustained in this area for over 12,000 years. I extend a special welcome to our visitors and encourage you to join us after the service for fellowship and coffee. If you'd like to know more about Unitarian Universalism or how to get involved in this church, please fill out the guest card that you'll find in the pew rack in front of you and hand it to an usher or to me. We are a welcoming congregation of and for all ages, working for justice and compassion in our world, encouraging spiritual growth and thoughtful dialogue. Here, we celebrate the participation and presence of people who are gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, or gender nonconforming. Here, Black Lives Matter. Here, we lift up the consumption crisis in which we find ourselves and promote the values of a sustainable planet. In the spirit of welcome, please rise in body or spirit and greet one another. Good morning. I call your attention to the announcements in the order of service, and I have a few. We have had some interest in another small group, so I'm trying to form an all-male small group that will meet online twice a month. So if you're interested, please send me an email. Or if you just want to know more, you can send me an email, and we will try to arrange a time and a day that works for all of you. We have a number of all-women small groups, so this is not unusual. It's just we right now have more men that want a small group than women, so I'm trying to add to that. On Thursday, October 23rd, a group of members and friends of this church are heading up to the ICE detention facility in Burlington, Mass. If you'd like to join us, please sign up to Ride or Drive, which you can do online, but also in Warren Hall during our coffee hour. We'll be meeting at church at 8:45 in the morning, for those of you who are wondering, and don't get up that early. We have more postcards this morning during coffee hour. We filled out 100 like that last week. So these are urging the passage of a dignity not deportation bill. As the postcard proclaims, our state cannot change federal immigration policy, but we do not have to contribute to its increasing cruelty. So this bill addresses this, and so I invite you to sign a postcard during coffee hour. And the good news is we also have scones of all types available during coffee hour. So if you didn't get here yesterday, you can get some during coffee hour. Thank you.
Here we are free to celebrate.
Owen Fletcher, will you light our chalice this morning? Thank you. All of you is welcome here. All of your joy, your hope, your pride, all of your grief, your fear, your anger, all that is on the inside, and all that you choose to show us on the outside, all of you is welcome here. You who are gay or straight, bisexual or asexual, transgender or cisgender, non-binding, non-conforming, intersex or agender, queer or questioning, certain and uncertain, partnered or single, familied or by yourself, all of you is welcome here. Please rise in body or spirit and join me in the affirmation in unison printed in your order of service. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humanity and fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant together. Please join me in the children and youth affirmation, also in your order of service. We believe in unity. We believe in community. We believe each of us has a power to make a difference in the world. Our opening hymn is in your teal hymnal, number 1030, Sia Hamba. While the general anxiety due to our country's roll into authoritarianism hovers around most of us, individually the concerns we focus on may be very different. For some of us, the concern for our LGBTQ family members and friends are foremost in our minds. Some of us can't get the image of people being rounded up and taken into custody by mass agents. Some of us are worried about how our children are navigating the world right now and what their lives are going to be like. For others of us, it is worrisome diagnosis that plagues us. This is the time to focus our thoughts on those things that bring us sorrow, those things that bring us joy, even in the midst of times like this. Those things for which we remain grateful. Those people we want to send strength or love to. Bring that focus down the center aisle in 2 lines. Pick up a pebble. Bless it with whatever on your mind and heart, and place that pebble into our community waters of hope and compassion. Jane Allen, will you help me? Could you please add a pebble for Sin Hickey, who is having emergency eye surgery on Tuesday? And I invite you to send her love and support for a successful procedure and a quick recovery. And could you add a pebble for all those joys and sorrows too scary or too private to lift up at this time? Thank you. The words to the prayer this morning are by the Reverend Amy Zucker Morgenstern. She writes that the Hindu god Indra is said to have created reality as a great net with jewels at each intersection of the threads. Each jewel is reflected in every other, and they are all connected by an infinite, intricate web, the net that connects them all. And so I pray, please join me. Dear God, you are the between space of our lives, where one hasn't reached to touch, one hand reaches to touch another, you are there. Where eyes meet across the crowd and confusion and find understanding, you are there. Where the spark leaps from one mind to ignite another, that is you. Wherever we connect, you are the connection. Each of us is a jewel in Indra's net, shining like a spider web. Praise to you, the web that connects us one to another when we are all in the in-between, on our way from the intolerable to the unknown, when we defy the categories that small minds invent and dare to imagine something beyond. When we seek others who are on a journey, on a threshold, on the margins. In any of that shimmering intersections of our lives, when we listen to the possibilities whispered within and step into mystery with trust, with fear, with trembling. May we find peace, for we dwell in your sacred place. So may it be. A local town had 3 faith communities side by side by side. And the rabbi, priest, and Unitarian Universalist minister often went out to lunch together to check in with each other and find ways to cooperate. One day, on the way back to their houses of worship, the clergy saw smoke engulfing their 3 faith homes. The rabbi was the first out of his car and ran into the synagogue and hoisted the Aron HaKodesh containing the Torah scrolls and ran out of the building. The Catholic priest was the next out of the car and tore into the church, grabbing the communion chalice and founder's crucifix, and ran out. The Unitarian Universalist Church was already crumbling when the minister knocked down the firemen who were trying to prevent her from entering the inferno and raced up the stairs. But just before she entered, 2 of the governing board members who had arrived earlier grabbed her and held her back, crying, "Don't worry, Reverend, we got it. It's safe. We got the coffee pot." For this church, that loves the sacred ritual of coffee hour, we will now receive the morning offering. Please rise in body or spirit and join me in the dedication dedication offering and doxology, something like that.
For these gifts we have received, so you're welcome to come forward if you want to see the pictures. And as they're coming down, I'll just start off. Oh, hey, hello. Come on in. Yeah, plenty of room. Plenty of room. Hello. So as Unitarian Universalists, we recognize and honor wisdom that comes from many sources, from sacred texts, from the natural world, from people around us, and often from stories. So with that in mind, I have a story for us to share today. This morning's story is I Am Jazz, written by Jessica Herthel and Jazz Jennings. So this is not a made-up story. It's based on Jazz's real life. From a very young age, Jazz knew in her heart that she was a girl, even though other people initially saw her as a boy. This book tells the story of how Jazz and her family learned together what it means to listen deeply to who you are and to live that truth with courage and love. As we hear the story, we're reminded that each of us is called to be our authentic self, and that our communities grow stronger when we make space for everyone to be fully seen and accepted. And now you're 5. Yeah, so you get to come and hang out with us up here. I'm so glad. All right, ready? I am Jazz. For as long as I can remember, my favorite color has been pink. My second favorite color is silver. And my third favorite color is green. Here are some of my favorite things: dancing, singing, backflips, drawing, soccer, swimming, makeup, and pretending I'm a pop star. Most of all, I love mermaids. Sometimes I even wear a mermaid tail in the pool. My best friends are Samantha and Casey. We always have fun together. We like high heels and princess gowns, or cartwheels and trampolines. But I'm not exactly like Samantha and Casey. I have a girl brain, but a boy body. This is called transgender. I was born this way. When I was little and my mom would say, "You're such a good boy," I would say, "No, Mama, good girl." At first, my family was confused. They'd always thought of me as a boy. As I got a little older, I hardly ever played with trucks or tools or superheroes, only princesses and mermaid costumes. My brothers told me this was girl stuff. I kept right on playing. My sister says I was always talking to her about my girl thoughts and my girl dreams, and how one day I would be a beautiful lady. She would giggle and say, "You're a funny kid." Sometimes my parents let me wear my sister's dresses around the house, but whenever we went out, I had to put on my boy clothes again. This made me mad. Still, I never gave up trying to convince them. Pretending I was a boy felt like telling a lie. Then one amazing day, everything changed. Mom and Dad took me to meet a new doctor who asked me lots and lots of questions. Afterward, the doctor spoke to my parents, and I heard the word transgender for the first time. That night at bedtime, my parents both hugged me and said, "We understand now. Be who you are. We love you no matter what." Well, this made me smile and smile and smile. Mom and Dad told me I could start wearing girl clothes to school and growing my hair long. They even let me change my name to Jazz. Being Jazz felt much more like being me. Mom said that being Jazz would make me different from the other kids at school, but being different is okay. What's important, she said, is that the important thing is, she said, is that I'm happy with who I am. Being Jazz caused some other people to be confused too, like the teachers at school. At the beginning of the year, they wanted me to use the boy bathrooms and play on the boys' team in gym class, but that didn't feel normal to me at all. I was so happy when my teachers changed their minds. I can't imagine not playing on the same team as Casey and Samantha. Even today, there are kids who tease me or call me by a boy name or ignore me altogether. This makes me feel crummy. Then I remember that the kids who get to know me usually want to be my friend. They say I'm one of the nicest girls at school. I don't mind being different. Different is special. I think what matters most is that what people are like in the inside. And inside, I'm happy. I am having fun. I am proud. I am Jazz. Since sharing her story, the end, that's right. Since sharing her story as a child, Jazz Jennings has continued to be a voice of understanding and compassion. Yeah. You can wear whatever you want and keep it on. That's right. That's right. She became one of the youngest people ever to speak publicly about being transgender, helping people around the world learn about identity, acceptance, like you said, right, Lena? And the power of living our true self. Yeah. So Jazz also co-founded the Trans Kids Purple Rainbow Foundation, which supports and uplifts transgender and gender diverse children and their families. Through her advocacy, her writing, and her example, Jazz shows how one person's courage can help open hearts and create more loving for all. Her story reminds us that we honor truth, lead with kindness, and act with love. We help to create a world where everyone can shine as their fullest self. You like that? Yeah. There's a little bit less, but we're going to talk more again downstairs about it, okay? And we're going to do placemats. Yeah. Okay.
I invite all of those of you who are going to the Children and Youth Center to do so now. The rest of us will stand and sing hymn 413 in the gray hymnal, Go Now in Peace. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the love of God surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. Please be seated. The reading this morning is from Trans Kids, Our Kids by Alexis Stratton, Adam Pulaski, and Jasmine Beach Ferreira. Are you a girl or a boy? The first time I, Alexis, remember being asked this question, I was in the 3rd grade. I cut my hair super short for the first, but not the final time. And whenever I met new kids, they didn't know which gender box to put me in. When I was born, the doctor said I was a girl. But from a young age, I remember wishing that I wasn't. It was early in 1990s, and my mother assured me that a woman could be anything she wanted to. So she let me dress how I wanted. in the 4th grade. It was combat boots and baggy shorts and occasionally suspenders or a tie. She let me cut my hair, and she let me be bold and brash. In the 6th grade, I wanted to play basketball at my school in rural Illinois, but the school only had a boys' team. My mother told me about Title IX, a 1972 law that requires schools to offer equivalent opportunities for boys and girls. So I convinced a gaggle of girls to try out for the boys' team. The first year, no girl made it. The second year, one did. By the 3rd year, the school had enough interested girls to form a girls' basketball team, and the girls' volleyball team became co-ed. My mom and I counted this as a success. Yet despite my mom's flexible notion of gender rules, especially for 1990s rural Illinois, questions of gender and identity continued to dog me. Eventually, I came out as queer while living in South Carolina in my late 20s and cut my hair short for the 4th and final time. But it wasn't until I started identifying as non-binary in my early 30s that things seemed to click. Since then, I often wondered if I had the word sooner or a community of support sooner. Would I have had a deeper understanding of myself sooner too? If I had even an inkling of what non-binary was, would I have seen it and owned it in myself from a young age? At this year's General Assembly, the annual gathering of Unitarian Universalist delegates from around the country, the Ware lecturer asked a great question. Amara Jones, a Black trans woman, award-winning journalist and activist, asked the gathered assembly, what percentage of the population did we think is transgender? Now, this is a great question because the current administration and the Christian nationalist movement has been focusing a lot of energy and hate on trans people. Donald Trump made it a major issue in his campaign and flooded battleground states with advertisements warning of the harm from and denying the reality of trans people. The Heritage Foundation invited radical feminists to a conference at their headquarters in order to discuss the dangers to women and girls that trans people represent. During the first half of 2025, more than 800 anti-trans bills were proposed. Some criminalizing gender-affirming care for youth, others prohibiting trans athletes in school sports, preventing trans children and youth from using the bathroom that aligns with their gender identity, banning books in schools and libraries that contain LGBTQ plus characters, blocking the teaching of gender identity in schools, and even punishing the simple act of saying LGBTQ by teachers and professors. Now, the Ware Lecture is my favorite part of General Assembly. It has welcomed influential people such as the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Marian Wright Edelman, Cornel West, Mary Oliver, Krista Tippett, and Ibram X. Kendi, to name a few. Of the 20 or more lectures I have attended or seen, this was by far the most impactful. I encourage all of you to view it. You can find it at uua.org and just search for Ware Lecture 2025. So Ms. Jones asked us, what percentage of the population is transgender? What do you think? Raise your hand if you think it's 25% of the population. No one in the audience at GA raised their hand. How many think trans people are 10% of the population? About 15% of the audience thought that too. How about 5% of the population? About 15% as well thought that it was 5%. How about 2% of the population? About another 15% thought that as well. To all this, she responded, trans people are 1% of the population. And that's on a high counting day. That is if you get the right sample. That means there are as many trans people as there are redheads. Now, the reason I think this is such a good question is that if trans people are only 1% of the population, why is Donald Trump and the Christian nationalists worried about them? They are no threat to the population at large. In truth, they aren't worried. We've all probably heard by now that authoritarians and the hate groups that follow and grow up around them test how far they can go with a community by starting with a small group that is relatively isolated from the rest of the population. Like the Romani or the physically and developmentally disabled people in Germany. The Nazis started their killing there. Unlike what Pastor Niemöller wrote, they did not first come for the socialists. They came for the Romani. They came for the disabled. They came for the gay community. 20 years ago, gender dysphoria and trans people were not widely talked about. Yes, people knew about drag queens and transvestites, but they were largely invisible to the general population, with the exception of RuPaul, who hit international fame with his song Supermodel in 1993. Now, hear me clearly. I'm not saying there weren't any trans people 20 years ago. There have been trans people back to ancient times. I am also not saying that the violence and hate towards trans people started only 20 years ago. Men have been killing trans women in particular long before the first Transgender Day of Remembrance in 1999. What I am saying is that trans people's lives were not the focus of public conversation 20 years ago. Even though, as Amara Jones pointed out, gender-affirming care has more than 50 years of careful scientific study, it is only in the last decade that we have begun to hear lies about the supposed dangers of this care. Because 10 years ago, Christian nationalists began a concerted campaign against the trans community. Jones pointed out that in 2019, no state in the U.S. had passed anti-trans legislation. 6 years ago, no state. And yet in just 5 short years, half of all states have passed them. So what are the other reasons the radical right is targeting the transgender community? Now, Jones explained that most Americans do not want to live in an authoritarian nation where women are subjected to men, where the rich rule over poor, where freedom of speech and freedom of the press is curtailed, and anyone who questions the abuse of power is prosecuted or imprisoned. The truth is, most U.S. citizens are against mass deportation of hard-working migrants. Most U.S. citizens believe in the freedom of religion. Most U.S. citizens are against the military being used to police our cities. Most U.S. citizens believe there should be safety nets for people in crisis or people unable to care for themselves and their families. Most U.S. citizens are for marriage equality and the freedom of self-expression. Most U.S. citizens are pro-choice. As a matter of fact, the majority of U.S. citizens are against almost everything Trump and his administration are doing. And I believe that the majority of U.S. citizens would be in favor of trans rights if they understood that being transgender is not a fad. It is not a disease that you can catch by being near other trans and genderqueer people. And it is something children as young as 2 have identified knowing that they are. However, the Christian nationalists and other right-wing organizations saw the transgender population as a good tool with which to sow division. Through pseudo-scientific and peer-reviewed articles, books based on those articles, and the conservative media, they were able to begin to inculcate fear of trans people. They told the communities that listened that being transgender wasn't real. No one really believed they were born in the wrong body. They told feminists that trans women would attack and rape them and their young children in bathrooms. They told parents that boys dressed as girls should not be able to compete against girls in sports. It isn't fair. They told families that gender-affirming care was dangerous, and most trans people ended up regretting their transition and being damaged by it. They told the wider society that trans soldiers were inferior and could endanger their fellow servicemen and women. They sowed the seeds of suspicion and doubt and hate. They knew they only needed to corrupt a small percentage of people's minds to get them to stay at home during the election or secretly vote for Trump in order to win. They provided us with a boogeyman, a boogie woman, a scapegoat to put all our fear and hate on. And people fell for it. Now, a member recently asked me how I was going to connect the topic of being transgender to our faith. What does supporting people who are transgender have to do with religion? Well, let me tell you that the etymology of the word religion is regulare, which means to bind back, or rebind. Usually to bind back or rebind to the principles and beliefs of a faith tradition. So when we talk about transgender rights in terms of our religious tradition, to what are we bound or being asked to be rebound? When the delegates of General Assembly of the UU Association voted in 2024 to change that part of our bylaws that included the 8 principles and purposes, I was, to say the least, not thrilled. While I think it's cool that our newly stated values have love at the center, I am, however, concerned that the first principle ended up in the value that is listed last. I know that the values are supposed to be equal, but the first principle, which for those of you who are new to Unitarian Universalism, is we covenant to promote and affirm the inherent worth and dignity of every person. I feel this is the cornerstone of who we are as a faith. I would argue that it is the grounding for the work we do in welcoming and accepting all people, the work we do for justice. It states that everyone, regardless of race or ethnicity, sexual orientation or gender identity, cognitive, physical, or psychological ability, immigrant status, religious background, all are inherently worthy. Whether or not you're wealthy or poor, housed or unhoused, whether you believe in Jesus or God, follow the teachings of Buddha or Vishnu, whether or not we agree politically or socially, whether or not we like one another and approve of one another's behavior, we each deserve to be treated with inherent worth and dignity. The new values have nothing in the titles that name this principle. Rather, it is subsumed under the heading equity. And only when you delve further into what this means to us does it state, we declare that every person is inherently worthy and has the right to flourish with dignity, love, and compassion. I would argue that one of the main threads throughout our history is that of fighting to honor people's inherent worth and dignity. Certainly since the merger in 1961, but also since the earliest days of our movement and our push for public education, our work with the Sanitary Commission for Injured Soldiers, the abolitionist movement in our faith, as well as the suffrage movement, which women of our faith led. It has not been a straight line for us. Not all of us have always been on the right side of history, but we have always come around to this core belief that everyone has inherent worth. So how do we work to honor the worth and dignity of the genderqueer community and ensure they flourish with love and compassion? One of the first ways we can begin is with honoring people's pronouns. So often we look at a person and decide if they're male or female. I know I do this. I did this a few months ago. I made the mistake of telling a visiting mom that she and her daughter were welcome here anytime. To my chagrin, the mother angrily told me that the child I called her daughter was actually a boy. They never came back. The first lesson in welcoming people who are transgender, gender nonconforming, or non-binary, or cisgender for that matter, is not misgendering them. I should have said, you and your child are welcome here. Using words like siblings instead of brother or sister, child instead of daughter and son, and partner or spouse instead of husband and wife is a way of honoring people's right to their own and their loved one's gender identity. This year, you may have noticed that I started naming my pronouns during the welcome. I do this to model how we can all introduce ourselves with an invitation to others to identify their pronouns without us having to guess their gender identity. Now, I have heard from a few members that they're uncomfortable with using they and them pronouns because it's grammatically incorrect. My response to this is, if referring to someone as they or them empowers them to feel worthy, loved, seen, then grammar shouldn't come into play. The truth is, we are so chained to the binary, girl, boy, black, white, right, wrong, that we fail to see anything and anyone who doesn't fit into that box. One of the most liberating and empowering things we can do is stop allowing people to box us and those around us. So many of us found Unitarian Universalism because it wasn't like the Christian churches or the Jewish synagogues in which we grew up. It was an alternative. It was religion outside the box. It was faith without boundaries. This is what transgender, gender fluid, and gender nonconforming people want. This year, our Justice for All committee has chosen Trans Kids Are Kids for our all-church read. If you get anything out of this book, I hope you begin to understand how communities like ours can save lives. Trans kids have the higher rate of suicidal ideation, attempts, and completions than cisgender children. They need a community where they are welcomed, accepted, encouraged, and loved for who they are. Let us do the work of our values. Let us be the place that we say we want to be. Let us be the community that transgender, gender nonconforming, and non-binary children, youth, and adults can lean on. Let us be a beloved community for all. Our closing hymn is number 1021 in your teal hymnal, Lean on Me. Please rise in body or spirit and join me.
We all have sorrow,
Each of us is inherently worthy of acceptance, of compassion, of love. Let us never stand in the way of that truth. Please be seated.